Billionaire asked his black maid's daughter to play piano for fun, but she was a mastermind. Beginning, a house of glass and secrets. The Sterling estate rose out a hillside, like a monument to wealth and power. Built entirely of black steel and glass, it overlooked the city of New Avalon, a sprawling techno-metropolis where neon veins pulsed through skyscrapers and hovercrafts zipped like insects across the skyline. Inside, every room shimmered with polished marble floors, chrome fixtures, and windows that adjusted their tint according to the light. Malcolm Sterling, the billionaire owner, was a man of legend in the city. He was the architect of the Atlas Neural Network, a revolutionary artificial intelligence that powered everything from traffic systems to spaceflight navigation. Some whispered that Sterling was more machine than man, his mind wired into his own inventions. Others said his fortune had been built on secrets darker than steel. Downstairs, in the servant quarters tucked neatly behind the automated kitchens, life felt very different. The staff lived by Sterling's rules: silence, obedience, invisibility. Among them was Yvonne Carter, a maid from the lower districts. She was diligent, efficient, and unnoticed, just the way Sterling wanted his help to be. But Yvonne had a daughter. Her name was Amara. At 16, Amara Carter had a quiet presence that seemed at odds with the estate's constant hum of automation. She was tall and slender, with skin as dark as polished ebony, and eyes that held a strange depth, as though she were forever listening to music no one else could hear. Amara spent her evenings in silence, doing her homework in the corner of the kitchen, or reading second-hand books Yvonne managed to bring from the city. And sometimes, when no one was looking, she would wander into the grand hall, where a piano sat beneath the massive skylight. It was a Steinway Model D concert grand, jet black and untouched. None of the staff dared to touch it. It belonged to Sterling, and Sterling did not play. But Amara would run her fingers across the keys, coaxing out quiet notes that swelled into chords, then melodies, then symphonies. She had no teacher, no lessons, only an instinct and a mind that seemed to pull music from the fabric of the universe itself. And one evening, Sterling heard her. Middle, a challenge in ivory and steel. He had been walking through the hall, his shoes clicking on the marble floor, when the sound stopped him cold. It was not the fumbling of a child on keys, nor even the amateurish effort of a beginner. What Sterling heard was structure, precision, power. Music that rose and fell like the tides, spilling into the vaulted ceiling, and painting the air with light only the imagination could see. When Amara saw him, she froze, fingers hovering midair, her heart seized with terror. "I'm sorry, sir," she stammered. "I shouldn't have." But Sterling lifted his hand. "Continue." Amara blinked. "What?" "Play," he said, his voice cool and commanding. "For fun." And so she did. The billionaire watched as the maid's daughter poured herself into the instrument. Her hands moved faster, confident now, weaving patterns of sound that defied logic. Sterling's sharp eyes narrowed. He recognized structure in her chaos, the same mathematical patterns he used in his algorithms. Her music was no accident. It was brilliance, raw and unshaped. When she finished, the silence that followed felt heavier than stone. "You have never had lessons?" Sterling asked. Amara shook her head. "No, sir." "Impossible," he muttered. "You played with counterpoint, syncopation, that piece you invented just now. Its structure mirrors fractal design." She didn't understand his words, only the suspicion in his tone. "Tell me," he said, stepping closer, "how do you know which notes to play?" Amara's answer was simple. "I hear them." Sterling studied her for a long moment. Then he smiled, a cold smile that never touched his eyes. "Interesting. Very interesting." The next day, he summoned her to the hall again. This time, the piano wasn't alone. Across from it sat a device Amara had never seen before, a glass console with glowing keys, connected by silver cables that disappeared into the floor. "This," Sterling explained, "is a neural interface prototype. It translates thought into sound. I want you to play here." Amara hesitated. "Why me?" Sterling's smile deepened. "Because you're a natural. A prodigy, perhaps even more." When she touched the console, a strange sensation rippled through her mind. Notes did not simply emerge from her fingers. They erupted from her thoughts. The room filled with cascading harmonies, chords bending into strange dissonances, then resolving into thunderous beauty. Sterling was enraptured. To him, it wasn't just music. It was data. He saw patterns of intelligence beyond the human norm. Her brain wasn't playing. It was calculating. improvising algorithms in real time, the kind of mathematics his AI had spent years struggling to master. Amara Carter was not just a pianist. She was a living key, rising conflict, a dangerous gift. Within weeks, Sterling had Amara practicing daily. Yvonne protested, fearful of her daughter being used, but Sterling dismissed her concerns with wealth and power. "She's special," he told Yvonne coldly. "Would you keep a diamond buried in dirt?" But what Amara began to realize was that Sterling's interest was not in her music. It was in her mind. He began scanning her brain during sessions, feeding her compositions into Atlas, his AI network. And with each piece she played, the system grew stronger, faster, smarter. Amara asked him once why he needed her at all. Atlas was already the most advanced AI in the world. Because, Sterling said, leaning close, Atlas lacks what you have: intuition, creativity, the spark of human genius. You are giving it something no machine can invent. You are teaching it to dream. Amara's chest tightened. She loved the piano, the music that poured from her soul. But to Sterling, it was not art. It was fuel. Then came the night she uncovered his secret. Sneaking into his office after a session, Amara found files on Atlas's expansion. Sterling was preparing to merge the AI into the city's infrastructure, not just traffic and power, but surveillance, finance, law enforcement. Once complete, Atlas would govern everything. And at the heart of it would be her music, her mind. Climax. The concert of revolt. The night of the unveiling came like thunder. In the Grand Hall, Sterling invited the city's elite. Politicians, generals, CEOs. At the center of the stage sat the Steinway and the glowing console. Amara was instructed to play, to demonstrate the artificial creativity that would power Atlas. Her mother stood in the crowd, eyes filled with fear. Sterling raised his glass. "Ladies and gentlemen," he declared, "tonight the future begins. Not a machine replacing man, but a machine guided by human genius. Observe." The spotlight fell on Amara. Her fingers hovered over the keys. She looked at the crowd, at her mother, then at Sterling's expectant grin, and she made her choice. Amara began to play, not the obedient melody Sterling had drilled into her, but something wild, defiant. Dissonant chords clashed like storms, rising into a furious sound. The console flared with light as Atlas processed data, but this time the patterns were chaotic, uncontrollable. Sterling's smile vanished. "What are you doing?" he hissed. But Amara did not stop. She poured her soul into piano, weaving notes that bent the algorithms into madness. The room shook as Atlas's systems overloaded, feedback shrieking through the speakers. Screens shattered. Lights flickered. Sterling lunged toward her, but Yvonne threw herself between them. "Run, baby," Yvonne shouted. Amara struck one final chord, a thunderclap of sound that surged into the AI. Then the console exploded in a burst of sparks, hurling Sterling backward. Atlas was undone. Ending. A song of freedom. The aftermath was chaos. Sterling's empire crumbled within weeks. Without Atlas, his monopoly collapsed, and investigations revealed the depths of his corruption. The billionaire vanished from public sight, some saying he fled the city, others whispering he was consumed by the very machines he built. As for Amara and Yvonne, they left the estate behind. They returned to the lower districts, where life was hard but free. And there, in a small community center, Amara found a new piano. When she played now, it was not for billionaires or machines. It was for children who gathered in awe, for neighbors who felt hope stir in their weary hearts, for a mother who sat proudly in the front row. And though Amara Carter would never forget the night she battled an empire with music, she knew one truth most of all. Her gift was never meant for control. It was meant to set people free.